Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here again. It's been a while since the last meeting, and we have, December. We do have a quorum, so we'll bring the meeting to order. And welcome, everyone. And to start, we do have a board member that may join us, Gloria Branch. Oh, there she is. Hey, good morning. Thank you for joining. Appreciate that. And so we'll start with any public comments. Seeing none, we can continue to, so it's an informational meeting, so there's no conflict of interest, correct? And the only item we're going to vote on and agree on is the minutes from the last meeting. So, all right, continuing on then. So the last meeting was December 4th. I wasn't present, so I did read the notes, but I couldn't validate it. So do we have any comments about or motions on approving the last minutes from December 4th, 2024? Move to approve. Any seconds? Okay, it is seconded. We approve the minutes. Thank you. And so today is an informational, and there's a lot of good material I was able to browse through this week. The first up would be the Avaya call center, and Mr. Chris Prasad is going to present that to us.
Sure. I just like to invite Hal Toshik up here as well. He's the HR call center manager. So he was one of the end users that basically got the benefit of this implementation.
Sorry. Good morning. So first, I do want to thank Chris and his team because the software that we were using at the time, it was so hard to manage with what we were using because it wasn't giving me real data. So we went to the drawing board with Avaya, and they actually formatted a wonderful report that really helps me manage better with real-time data. And I'll show it to you what we're using now. Should be a slide.
Sure. I'll go over I'll give you just some of the background that Hal just mentioned. It's kind of our business need, our project overview, and what was done, so the ultimate impact. So basically, to enhance exactly what Mr. Toshik just said, we wanted live data, so something that he could see real time, basically choosing skills for the call center agent, so that way, one person has their skills, can go to the other pieces as well, and you're not bombarding somebody with a skill that's not required or they don't have the skill set to answer the questions. And customer satisfaction, I guess, so making sure that he can see real time if there's any calls that are falling behind a queue. Overview, I just kind of gave you a little bit of the overview. So these were some of the data-driven decisions that they needed to make at the call center level. There's other opportunities that will come up after we put this in place. So these are some of the reasons. So I'll give it over to Hal right now, and he can tell us what was done, and then he can give some of the details of what happened after that.
So all of us worked together, and we built a report that is now, it allows me to see the volume each agent of mine is taking. And it also allows me to see the actual time they're on a call. And in my mind, when I see somebody on a call 5 minutes or so, our average talk time is about 3.5 minutes. But when I see someone on the phone about a little over 5 minutes, I'm going to go over to them and say, hey, you guys, are you okay? Do you need help? Because the longer they stay on that call, the better chance you're going to have calls build up in queue. And that's my job as a manager. If you're having trouble with a caller, give it to me. Let me get them off the phone and free you up for the next 3.5 minute phone call. So by building the report, it's really, can you go to the next slide? It's really allowing me to monitor them better, and to help the district, we deliver much better, outstanding customer service. Our customer service scores, we're in 90-something% is rating my agents as satisfied or better. I can't ask for more than that. You'll never get 100%, obviously, but I'll take the 90%, just like 91, 92%, I'll take it. So this is the report that we built, and where I put all the arrows is the stuff, is the items that I use to manage. And if you look at the top right, that split cumulative data, that shows me the current service factor. My goal is to actually pick up the phone within 30 seconds of that caller hitting the queue. So if I'm not at that 80%, I'm going to try to figure out what's going on. I might be short-staffed. I'll jump on the phone to get us back up. But we did not have that live number prior to building this report. you only had a historical. So I wanted it live, because how do you manage with historical data? You can't. You've dropped the ball at that point. So that's the live data. Over on the left, you'll see calls in queue, the oldest call waiting, and what I do is I'll take a look at that, and then I'll look down at the bottom where it says agent status data, the big rectangular white box. I'll see what the reason is. If there's calls in queue, what's going on with their status? I did not have that before. So you'll notice on this screenshot, I had the first person, I stay in auxiliary or training the whole day. So I could just jump right on. I don't have to first wait for the phone to clock in. But I had 2 agents available, and one was actually on a call to ACD. Sometimes I'll go in there, I'll see they're all on after call, and there's a call queue, and I'll say, hey, what's going on? Oh, we were finishing our ticket. I have a minute, I believe it's a minute and a half built into the after call to finish documenting the ticket. After a minute and a half, it automatically puts them in available status. So I do monitor that as well. And then on the bottom left, that was so key. So I think one of your greatest assets in a call center is to do some written work if they are available. I mean, they can even start written work while waiting for all the call to come in. Sometimes I'll notice one of my agents is taking more calls than the other, and I might pull that person off the phone to help me with something and let the other 3 or 4 take the call. So but this is all live data, and without this, it was really very difficult to manage, to give the district any kind of decent performance and keep that customer satisfaction. But now it's so much easier for me to monitor and address as needed. And I believe IT Help Desk is using the same report.
Yeah, that's correct. This has been, we also have the IT Help Desk, Service Desk under Kara's leadership, helped with the implementation, all the processes we figured out, and there's a possibility this may be expanded over to transportation next as well. So this is a full-fledged project. Jorge Burgos is here. He's the manager who did most of the work. So, we get all the credit, but he did most of the work with it. So just so everybody's aware, so.
Thank you.
I'm not an easy customer either.
Are they,
But look at the product that Alpha came out, it's a good product,
are there questions from the TAC? I do have a comment. This is great reporting and measurement. You can't improve without knowing where you are and setting a direction. I would encourage, if you haven't looked into AI, this is a classic use case where AI can filter through your documents to maybe answer some of those calls or build a chat bot or even documenting the ticket. And it could do that instantly and eliminate that extra time documenting the ticket. Of course, I don't know deep what you do, so you have to investigate it, but I would encourage that. So
To add to that, the reason why we have the skills matrix in place is if a call center agent comes in, the goal is ultimately, is the way Avaya sold it to us as well, was if a person comes in and only has 1 year of experience, you would use the AI to subsidize that person's skill set to bring them up to 3 to 5 years of experience. Nice. And so that's why the skills are important. So this kind of sets us up for the future. Very nice. We do have the AI chat agent with the transportation call center. We did that last TAC. Probably missed that piece, but we did that last TAC.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Any questions? Stop by anytime, I'll show you.
One more question. One more question. If you have someone with an extended issue, something that's going to take more than a couple minutes to handle, what do you do with that? Do you set up an additional time slot, or how do you handle those additional issues?
So we're currently using, the ticketing system we're currently using is LineDesk, and I know that's going to be, go away. We're going to be going to ServiceNow. What I have them do in the ticket is assign it as a tier. I have 3 tiers built into the ticket. A tier 1 is basically you called us, you emailed us, we answered your question. A tier 2 is something that takes research, or tier 3 is a service failure. Outright, I've emailed Hal 4 times, he has not responded. That's a service failure. That's a tier 3. I handle all of those tier 2s and tier 3s. Anything that takes extra research or something like that. And then we leave that ticket open. So they document it, get off the call, because basically the call is call us in. Either we're going to answer your call, or we're going to put you in touch with the person that can assist you, because we don't answer everything, obviously. If it's something that takes extensive research, they're going to assign it to me as a research, not as a tier 2. The key is to get them off the phone. Like I said, the average talk time, we're running about 3.5 minutes.
Good. Any further questions? Awesome. Thanks again,
Okay.
Hal.
You're welcome.
The next item is the AT&T Diverse Network Pathway, and Chris Prasad will update us on that.
Yeah, I'd like to invite up Jorge Burgos, he's the Network Services Manager, and Michael Sims, he is the SRC, basically our NOC manager for the district. This was a heavy project. It's a few slides, but it was a heavy project. It took a lot of effort, so. So we're going to discuss our AT&T Diverse Network Path, which is ultimately how the business need was, we recently have seen the bandwidth increase significantly throughout the school district. Several changes, a lot of artificial intelligence, a lot of, generations of reports that are coming in. So definitely bandwidth has increased significantly. So I'll give you a little brief overview of the need, which was basically getting that speed to all the schools. As particularly during testing windows, we wanted to make sure those were addressed. Sometimes we bump right up to the top of that network bandwidth, and so we definitely had to address that. Sure. So we call it switched Ethernet, but it's switched Ethernet. It's fiber. It's a fiber connection to each school location. I'll let them get into more of the details of that. So it's basically all schools, all administrative sites, and in their presentation, they'll give a real-life scenario that just happened very recently. We've had several real-life scenarios, but we've had one very big one recently that there was no impact to the schools that ultimately came out of that. So there's engineering, design, and permitting. So what was done? I'll hand this over to Michael Sims.
Thank you. Thank you. So the business case here is really school outage, right? We were suffering from school outage because we had one fiber coming out from the school. And when AT&T was affected by that, whether it happened to be construction or damage from weather, we would lose that school. And we could not do anything other than the fact of wait on AT&T to handle that. Sometimes it could be a day, sometimes it could be 3 days, and we've seen a week before. So, we sat down with the group of engineers trying to decide what would be the best route here. And so the hub and spoke model that we currently have is that the schools all come back to the data center, right? And so that's our ASC. So the only way that we could use the existing infrastructure and have that redundancy in there was to work with AT&T on a second fiber coming from each school. And even in the case where if you were to cut outside the school or down the road, you still could get affected. So we worked with them trying to design something that went north and south out of every school. It would have to come right out to the front of the school, but it would go north and south. And also in that design, AT&T was upgrading us to a 10 gig circuit. So we had two 10 gig circuits. So we were basically handling two great problems that we were having. One was we were starting to fill the existing circuits that we had at the school, which were 1 gig, and some of them had 2 gigs. So now we moved from that up to 20 gigs, and then we also have the redundancy with the two lines. We piloted it the first year with the high schools, and we basically had no high schools down all year. So we knew we were on the right track. And we worked with AT&T, and it was moved out to all schools now, so we have full sites. And here you see the redundancy of those schools communicate back, of course, out with the two redundant paths. That we have 1,600 gig circuits coming back to our data centers. We have it across both data centers, so at any time, if one data center goes down, the school automatically just fails over to the other data center. So currently, that is the design that's working for us. Is there any questions with that?
Yeah, and this is just a high-level diagram just to show how everything's intertwined together, I guess you could say. It's just very high level. We do have a backup networking here that ties our data centers together in case of an emergency situation. And our data centers are tied together, and it shows our express route to Microsoft Azure and other pieces out there as well.
Yeah, that's a dark fiber between our two data centers as well. So really have a good connection. We also have included now, we have a ring that goes across Northwest Regional as well. So we have both data centers with 10 gig and then up to Northwest Regional for 10 gig private network.
And I'd like to ask Jorge Burgos there was a lot of nights and weekends, a lot of them for probably, I would say, probably about 8 to 10 months, somewhere in that range. So his team had the brunt of the work after hours, so we didn't impact schools during the daytimes and everything else. So I'll let him go into the rest of the presentation.
So this is a typical installation from one of our schools. This is the new Dr. Joaquin Garcia High School. As you can see, the black fiber that loops that coming into a 4-inch conduit, and then the two square routers, AT&T routers, the white ones are the ASC installation. So. Yeah, I know we are talking about ASC, but besides that, they bring through the fiber also the emergency lines for elevators and the red phone for each schools. And this is how they install their AT&T gateways. And then from that point, then we connect through our routers through those multi-mode fibers, the aqua color fibers. So as Michael was talking, not only we present diversity to all of our schools, but also we had an increment in bandwidth. We upgraded our routers from 10 gig to 25 gig routers. We had to install them throughout all of our sites, which are 200 sites. We did that during the summer of '23. It also, most of the time, it was just a simple installation, but in some of our older schools, we have to tie with the fiber to our data room because schools that were built in the 80s and prior to that, the AT&T bring their fibers to small electrical rooms, sometimes boiler rooms, and so we had to tie our fibers to and bring it to our data room with air conditioning. And this is what we go through from a day-to-day, not to this extent. There was a major outage in the south area as there was a fire that impacted the AT&T central office, and we had 24 schools that were down last week. When we came in, my staff started work 5:30 a.m., so we monitor the network. Our goal is to hit the schools before they even start, so they wouldn't even notice that there was an issue or that we were there. But unfortunately, well, in this case, thanks that we had diverse fibers, the school didn't even notice that they had one fiber down. So what happened, there was a fire in the Miami area, and it took them, they were able to fix it around 10 p.m. That day. Besides that, every time there's a construction, if they widen a road or any construction, they usually start digging and they usually break the conduit and there's a fiber cut.
I have to add, I was very impressed. I was very impressed with last 2 years we've been working on this. As soon as the technology came in, Chris jumped on it and made sure, this project is done, because we were hearing from schools like crazy, like fiber is cut, and we are running there, trying to get them a cellular connection or wireless, something like that. And so now I think this was a use case for us. When Miami fire happened, and I think I was told like 50 schools were, instead of 24, 50 schools were affected after.
Friday, there was a subsequent issue that impacted the Glades area as well.
Correct.
But there was nothing felt from the schools.
But this
We were able to
team-
get everything going, so it was like 52 schools.
But Chris and Horace's team, they jumped in and they basically stayed late, woke up early, made sure schools are not impacted. So that was very, very impressive. So thank you, guys.
guess I've been here a little while now. I recall some of the first network connectivity that went out to the schools, and so just to watch the generations of how dependent the schools have become, and so I think this is amazing work because they have become very dependent, and so having that redundancy, as you show, they won't even know there was an outage.
Yeah, I don't think any of the schools noticed anything.
Kudos to you for making it invisible.
Doc?
I just want to echo everyone's comments. Amazing work, really. Thank you, first, just from testing. Since we take 3 electronic tests a year from the state, that is awesome, and it's really ingenious to do the fiber on the north side and the south side. Really cool. So thank you for that. Schools really appreciate it. Thanks.
Anything further?
Add one thing, we are looking even at, because if there was a major outage that would affect possibly north and south, what is our other option? So we are doing a pilot now with possible cellular connections coming in either with a mobile unit or something built into the school where we can jump on, use SD-WAN device and jump onto a cellular with a backup. It wouldn't be large scale like a 10 gig, but our tests right now are doing about 1.5 gig that we can do for a cellular backup at a school.
Very good.
And to add to that, we have 2 schools under construction, Saddleview and Winbrook. So we requested from the contractor to give us 2 1-inch conduits facing different locations in the school. That way we can obtain the best cellular signal and then be able to install that cellular backup system.
Yeah, since they mentioned the cellular thing, the way that's set up is those SIM cards are multi-provider. So if T-Mobile has a better service or if AT&T has a better service, we can automatically switch that. So the SIM cards are set up that way. So we've kind of designed that. We only got 1 unit right now, so this is a very scratching the surface still. Okay, so.
Very good. Sounds like you are all over this, and it's much needed and much appreciated. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
So the next item, Chris, elementary server refresh.
All right. So I'll give an update on our server infrastructure at the schools. This is the elementary server refresh I'll be going over. I'll go over the same things. So the business need is we currently try to keep our servers within a 5-year refresh cycle. A lot of the technology is changing, so we keep evaluating that over again. And recently, this past summer, we did the elementary school server. So all elementary schools now have a new server that I'll explain what a server is, but it's multiple servers kind of built into that. So basically, we have a host at every school location, and it hosts multiple virtual servers. Between all the elementary schools, there's 109 elementary schools, almost 110 elementary schools. There's 733 VMware servers that are hosted within all the elementary schools. So there's a variety of services that come through with that. From we have a school. The big one is the school police video surveillance servers. That's the reason why we have it at the local site, because we don't want to move all that surveillance camera footage over the network back here. So that's the ultimate reason. There's the Epic intercom system that I think EdTech will go over as well. There's file servers. There's 3 or 4 IT management tools that we use as well. And there's just a variety of things. There's some specific applications to some specific schools, maybe like an ESE school or some specific application they may use as well. So this is just a picture of what it is. This used to be filled with servers, filled with everything. Now it's just one server. It's all split up. It's just kind of how things are now. The technology's moved that way. We already had the racks in place, so we didn't decide to change that. We're like, let's just leave them. It's sunk cost already, so let's just keep going forward with that. So like I mentioned, video surveillance is a big piece of it. There's a lot of soft costs that a lot of like departments don't understand. There's VMware costs, there's backups, there's other pieces that IT absorbs the cost for those type of functions. So other people say, just give me a server, and I was like, well, there's a little more to it, but fine, we'll figure it out, you know. That's when Gary was here, he used to say can-do attitude. So that's kind of the theory that we still follow. We want to make sure we have that can-do attitude. And this was a pretty high-level presentation. Is there any questions about this?
The unsung hero with refreshes. So the 5 years, do you feel like that's the right cycle still?
You know, the next set of servers we're going to be doing is high schools. I had the dates in here. And we're thinking about seeing if we can extend that. With the way the processors have changed, we're not seeing much gains out of those processors for the way we do our traditional environments right now. So we're considering if we can extend those servers' life from the high school perspective out longer than the 5-year.
That would be awesome. I was worried to go in the opposite direction, that you wouldn't have enough time to even get through one cycle before the next cycle starts.
Yeah, I know that some of the advancements with the, I guess, the GPU chips and other chips, we don't have the infrastructure for the water-based cooling and all of the other pieces yet. So the schools wouldn't be designed for that. In the data center, that might be a possibility in the future, but we're not. At the school sites, that would take a big retrofit versus air cooling. That's what we have in place right now. Any other questions?
No more questions, thank you. Also, we have a new Director of Educational Technology, Miss Rebecca. Would you pronounce your last name for me, please?
Hi, thank you. It's Rebecca Smekla.
Smekla. Thank you. Thank you for joining and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So the next item is the student device refresh. Kara Rubinson?
Good morning.
Morning.
So I have two topics. The first is the student one-to-one device refresh. Just like servers, we refresh typically every 5 years. And Chris is going to be kind enough to do my slides for me. So project overview is essentially that it's a multi-year project to refresh all of our student devices. Now, we're talking 200,000 devices, so a very large number. We obviously went one-to-one right before as the pandemic was hitting, so it was kind of a mad rush, like everybody else in the country, to go one-to-one and allow students to learn from home. So now this is our opportunity to do it the right way and take some time and strategize and that type of thing. So we are going to be, here's some of the highlights of the project. We are going to be refreshing all Chromebooks for K through 12. So that's almost 200,000 right there. We are going to refresh laptops for CTE students, career and technical education students. All of the devices we're going to purchase are going to be touchscreen. And we are probably going to have protective covers on the devices this time. We're getting an RFQ and get some quotes on those to make sure that they're cost effective. One more thing on that slide, please. Just the device handling and delivery, just so you know that the vendors that we are going with through the RFQ process have to do more than just have devices that we can purchase from them. They have to etch the device, they have to acetate the device, they have to enroll in our Chrome environment, they have to deliver inside to the school with the cover on each device already and all of those types of things. So it's much more work on the vendor side than a typical purchase would be. Okay. The background, and this is just, obviously the pandemic, and we had to rush to get this done to go one-to-one. And now this time around, we're going to take our time and do it the right way over a 2+ year cycle. So we can go on to the next. In scope and out of scope, we're going to do all K through 12 schools, elementary, middle, high, and as I mentioned, CT students for laptops, alternative schools, and our DJJ students. We are not going to do adult ed students. We are not going to do anything for employees or charter schools or our virtual programs. This slide, this was the result of a 4-hour power session last summer with about 6 or 8 of us from ed tech and IT, different parts of IT, project management, and other areas that I bought pizza and we all sat in a room for 3-4 hours and strategized how are we going to do this, how long would it take, what do we do first, second, third, all that type of stuff. And this is what we came up with. So we're going to do it in 4 phases, but it's going to be 2+ years, starting now in March of this year and finishing up in August of 2027. So we're going to start with high schools. We're going to do about 60,000 units this spring, purchasing very soon now, starting in March and April, delivery May through July, and then complete it before school starts. Our whole our whole objective with building this timeline is to minimize the impact, the negative impact to academics. So we're trying and very hard to not to have a negative impact at all. In fact, we want to have a positive impact. You're now going to get touchscreen. You're now going to get some things you don't have, and obviously you're going to get a brand new device. So after doing the high schools this summer, we're going to go in the school years to divide up the 110 plus elementary schools into 2 years. The fiscal year coming up, FY26, and then fiscal year 27, do half the first and half the second. And then lastly, we're going to take care of the middle schools, alternative ed, and DJJ, and that would be the summer of 2027. So that's what we plan to do. There's something else I wanted to mention, but I'm sure it'll come to me, but that's okay. Like any other project, we have assumptions and risks. The only really ones that we really need to talk about, other than the data migration, where most of them are Chromebooks, so there's no data to migrate. But the repurposing and the triage involved is a big, that's the biggest thing for me to kind of wrap our heads around. We're going to, not only are we delivering for high schools this summer 60,000 devices, we're removing 60,000 devices at the same time. And what do we do with those? So we're going to be setting up a triage center in our McKesson warehouse and analyzing each device. Is it something we can use in the elementaries and middles until we refresh those and swap out for broken devices there? Or are they going to be e-wasted, or do they need a minor repair and then they can be used? So that whole triage process is part of the project and how we're going to staff it. And we're going to use temps and student interns, and we have a device repair team and our field support team, and all those folks are going to be not only helping the vendors get the new devices out, but they're going to be removing the current devices from the schools. Oh, I know what I was going to mention. The other slide was the buffer. The number of devices per school is going to be the student population plus a buffer, and right now we're at a 6% buffer. So I haven't talked to a lot of principals yet about that buffer. That's going to be part of the project. So we'll see if that stays, or we need to bump that up a little bit. But that's our intent at this point. Okay, couple more slides. Your risks. The only risks, typical risks, and part of the project is obviously to build mitigation plans for each of these risks. The tariffs, the first one, may impact us in cost. We've talked directly with Dell and HP. Those are the two that we're getting quotes on. And Dell has assured us that they have enough devices in the country already. They don't need to import anything. So they don't believe that their costs will increase for due to tariffs. HP has not said that, so their prices may be affected by tariffs if there are some. So that's mainly it on the risks, and I think we can go to the last one. Our next steps. We just initiated a project. We had a project kickoff meeting last week, and even though we didn't officially kick off the project, we've actually been working with the purchasing department for well over a month to build our RFQ. Our RFQ, or our request for quote, is not a standard request for quote. If you ask the purchasing department, we made it quite tight in terms of requirements for the vendors. Not only do they have to quote us on different models and different items, they also have to acknowledge that they're going to meet every requirement. There's about 14 of them. They have to be able to etch the device and all those things that they have to do. They have to deliver on a very tight logistical schedule to each school to make sure that we get them all done in the summer.
Kara, we have a question from
Oh, sure,
Ms.
of course,
Branch
sorry.
on Google.
Yes, Gloria?
I have a quick question. What are the warranty on these, and is it included in the charge that we're paying for them?
Yes. There's a standard 5-year warranty on the hardware, and there's a 1-year warranty on the battery.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And let's see, so we're in the middle of the RFQ process right now, as I mentioned. The RFQ is out there right now, but it's what's called a private RFQ. It only went out to our school board approved vendors. There's about 4 or 5 of them. So those are the ones we anticipate getting quotes back from. We will get those quotes and do a vendor selection. And then obviously our project has to build a logistical process and schedule for this summer for the high schools, and that triage process that I mentioned to deal with the devices that we're removing from the schools. And I think that's about it. Let me see. Yes, that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, I was looking at your timeline, and I remember as I was leaving the district, you had to implement that one-to-one. So looking at the timeline, we got a couple years to implement that one-to-one. Does that mean that some of them, did it take 2 years before? Or will some of those machines actually extend out to 7 years?
Yes, some of the
use?
machines are extending out to 7 years, and they've extended the life of those machines already. So none of the machines that we're removing are going to go past their end of life. You know.
So,
Also like to recognize the IT group for this. Touchscreens, the schools are going to love, the kids are going to love, the teachers are going to love, and yeah, they're just excited to get the new devices and the protective cases. That's awesome. So
We did go to a couple of schools to show them the device with the case, and how is that going to, you know, how are your kids going to take to this? And they seemed pretty positive about it, yeah.
great collaboration. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
excellent, thank you. Appreciate it, Kara.
Sure.
All right.
Next one is board docs. So all of you as TAC members have been board docs users. Board docs we purchased, it was developed by a company called Emerald Software Solutions probably a decade ago. We've been around for quite some time. Emerald Software Solutions became Diligent about 4 years ago, and since then they've been developing a replacement for board docs, and they now have it. It's called Diligent Community. We've seen a couple of a couple of demonstrations of Diligent Community. Our board office have seen the demonstrations. They like what they see. We really have no choice because their board docs is going to have an end of life in June of 2026, so we do have to migrate. We currently have 2 products, Board Docs LT, which is what you use for your TAC and other advisory committees use, and then we have Board Docs Pro. All of those 2 products are wrapped up into Diligent Community, so there's only one product going forward. And the next slide is, these are some of the enhancements that we'll get with Diligent Community. The big ones to me are, the number one is managing multiple boards and communities with one tool. So that's kind of a nice thing that everyone will be in the same software product. And the secondly is the user interface. Board Docs itself is kind of old-fashioned looking, and now we'll have a much more modern user interface that people, I think, will appreciate. A couple of other, public portal and security and more mobility and that type of thing will be nice things as well. Okay, the next is, here's just a couple of slides just to give you a peek at what the interface looks like on a phone as well. And the next one. And then this is just, as most things, we are going to have this be a PMO-led project, and I'll be the sponsor, and we are definitely going to be leaning on Tony Lynn Sinclair, who is the board clerk. She has seen the demonstration as well as her staff and some other folks. She likes what she sees. She's excited to get to it, but we'll be leaning on her in terms of when does the board want to be trained, those types of things. Tony Lynn will help us with that. And this is just a very high-level project plan that we anticipated taking about 4 months. The vendor has a 90-day migration plan for all of their customers. And most of their customers are very small school districts that hand over the entire migration 100% to the vendor, and they don't do anything. We're not like that. We're going to run the project ourselves, and we said that we are probably going to want more than 90 days. And we're going to want to be able to roll this out slowly and all the things that we do with most projects like this. And most importantly, we want to not negatively impact the school board. We want to do it around their timetable. Is Thanksgiving a good time? Is right before Christmas a good time? It's up to them. So that we'll wait and see what is a good time frame for them. But we will be migrating all of the data from Board Docs over to Diligent Community. That's about it. Any questions on that?
All right, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Enterprise Service Management Update. Next project, I think, is yours as well.
Good morning. I'm Rich Leonard. I'm the manager of the IT PMO. Thank you very much for your time. I am going to very high level take you through our ServiceNow initiative here at the district. And is somebody driving other than me? Okay, why are we doing this? For years, the district has managed their ITEL processing through a product called eSupport. eSupport's great. It works. It has grown from incident management to change management to service catalog. Additional IT organizations have come to the table and said, hey, we want to start our ITIL journey. Can we use eSupport? Absolutely. Non-IT organizations have come and done the same. Absolutely come into eSupport. So now what the district has is a good working tool. It's highly customized, it's highly configured, and it's on-prem. But it works. Some forward thinkers here at the district looked ahead and said, okay, we really need a tool that's going to scale with us. Not necessarily that the district's going to grow, but there's more organizations that can leverage this type of tool. And they landed on ServiceNow. So, project organization. How is this organized? With a project this large and this large of a duration, they thought it was best to reach out to Michael Callahan and the PMO to get direction on how to organize a project such of this nature. Of course, we have a steering committee. They're the largest stakeholders of a project of this nature. They pick our scope, they pick our timelines. We're IT, we want the greatest, shiniest thing. It's their job to reel us back and say, we're about the schools and about the district. This makes sense. So they keep us in check there. And of course, we have a working team. These are the folks that are going to actually do the implementation. Moving on, what's in scope and what's not in scope, and actually where we are and where we're heading. So our first implementation was change management. Then we moved on and landed hardware and software contract management. And just recently, we implemented incident management. Now, this is an enterprise solution, which is really cool to me. Our CFO, for example, and we're IT, we're OpEx, CFO is a large customer of ours. When she goes in and manages contracts, ServiceNow is kind of neat in that she's presented with what we call widgets. It's a bunch of graphs that easily guide her to the information she needs with her contract. And also, if she wants to dig a little bit deeper, there's a button on the left that shows her all. Why am I saying this? If, for example, our CFO wants to look at changes or incidents for some reason, as soon as she goes in there, she's going to be presented with a screen of widgets, just like her contracts. That's the value of the enterprise solution. But we're all technologists. I didn't have to say that. Where are we heading? Next in scope is the knowledge base and the virtual chatbot. Going to dabble there, sorry guys, just for a little bit. Our chatbot's going out in 4 phases. Phase 1, we're going to hook the chat up to our intranet, our district hub, kind of put it out there for our associates to see how it works. Phase 2, we're going to put it on the district website. That is for quicker, easier access for information for our students and our folks out in the district. Phase 3, if our chat journey for some reason doesn't answer your question or get you the information, you'll be able to open a service request so we can get that in the hands of the right people to answer your question. Phase 4, things get a little bit crazy and nuts. We're going to introduce artificial intelligence so that your chat journey is not dependent on a knowledge base behind it. It'll be more interactive. Right on the heels of that, we're looking at the service catalog, and the remainder of our deliverables are up here. Out of scope. What this is not a CMDB. You're all technologists. CMDBs are great. They're very high maintenance, but you got to keep, this is not a CMDB. Financial asset management and chargebacks. Financials are in PeopleSoft. They're going to stay in PeopleSoft. We're not taking that on. And of course, anything additional that comes because we've already defined our scope. How is this going to increase customer service? Well, the intent is for reduced call volume and requests for service. If there's a question that continuously calls Michael Callahan in the PMO, he can simply put that in the knowledge base, quickly get that question answered, so he gets less calls. The chat itself is what we're going to use to get folks quicker information in their hands. The chatbot kind of gets smarter as it goes. If you say, give me everything on W-2, for example, and everybody in the district starts clicking on how do I print, well, that's no longer number 10. It moves up to number 2. So it gets smarter as we ask it more questions. And then continually train the chatbot to get it better. Assumptions, every project has them. The steering committee picks our direction. The working team gets them done. Working team members will given time from their normal duties as with any district project. The folks have day jobs. So, and then we are working on the chatbot right now. The chatbot is knowledge-based, so one of the hurdles, not hurdles, but one of our highest to-dos, why it's highlighted, is to get that information vetted to make sure it's accurate. Risks, every project has risks. These are kind of boilerplate. We do have a regular steering committee. Risks that become issues, we bring to the steering committee. We rely on them to take care of our issues. A couple that have come to light during this project, just from my memory, is we had a licensing when we decided to go from internal to external with the chatbot. We had some licensing risks that became issues. The steering committee mitigated that for us, so we have a process in place to mitigate risks and issues. Where do we go from here? We're going to finish that knowledge base, and we're going to get that chat live internally. Then I've told you the other 3 phases that we'll go through. Right on the heels of that, we're going to start working on the service catalog. That's all I've got for you today. Any questions?
Can you go back to that item in yellow?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to do a public service announcement for you. So the people who do it well, the chatbot experience will be awesome. The people who don't do it well, their experience might not be awesome. And the platform will be judged on both of them.
Yes, sir.
And so just any reinforcement you can do with those folks that may not be as diligent with number yellow. I'd hate for the platform to get a bad name because of bad hygiene.
Yeah, and it's an excellent point, and we've done our best to try to mitigate that in that we're not just giving people a blank slate. We had part of our summer interns last year. We're going through the entire website and getting information that's there and saying, here is what we think is, you folks are interested in. Please tell us what's right, what's wrong. And so it's like I said, if you start with a blank sheet, a lot of times you're going to get blank sheets. So we've tried to fill in as much as possible, but we still depend on the departments to vet that and to update it as necessary. So your point's well taken.
Maybe give out some awards for those who do it very well. And maybe the ones who don't do it so well will strive to want to win an award.
I'll attest to Kara every day. She's sending, hey, where's my things, Chris? Where's my things? And I'm like, we're on it. We're getting it for you. Don't worry.
Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. All right. The final one is the Ed Technology update from Rebecca Smeckler. If you'd like, you can.
You can come here if you want to.
Or you want him to drive?
I'm okay.
Sure.
Thank you for recognizing Mrs. Smekla. We are very excited to have her on board as new director of Ed Tech. I won't make any comments about Gary and how cooler she is than him, but, we appreciate you, Gary. Very excited to have her here and enjoy.
Thank you, Adam. I want to recognize Gary as well. Gary was the director that hired me to the Ed Tech team back in 2017. So appreciate his leadership and Adam's leadership and Dr. Atwell's leadership as well. My first day was Monday, so I'm going to invite Mike Goldstein, project manager, up to the table to sit with me in case there are some additional questions that he has more knowledge base than I do. But we'll go ahead and get started. So right now, and I know Gary will remember this very, very clearly, in 2018, the district did an RFP for smart boards, and we rolled out over the next 2 years almost 11,000 units to all of our instructional spaces. At that time, we put on a very nice high-end computer, and what we're doing now is we're right in the middle of a panel PC refresh. So we're going to be able to extend our smart panels up to about 10 more years. What's a great benefit for the computer that we chose at the time is that it's still a great computer. And so we're going to be able to take those computers when we're doing the swaps and redistribute those to the school to help out with those devices that can no longer run Windows 11. So it's a win-win. We're about 10,000 ordered and a little bit over 5,000 installed. We have a lot of installs going in over spring break as well. Did I hit that? Okay. I'm going to let Mike speak to the new school construction and modernizations.
Absolutely. So part of Ed Tech, we also consult with all the different construction groups, project management, and teaching, learning, IT, when we're designing new schools to make sure that we have the technology that classes need, their teachers and students need in order to deliver effective instruction. So what that looks like currently is we've got a wall-mounted smart panel in the classroom, and then we've got some form of dual display, whether it's a second smart panel on a cart or else a TV mounted on the wall in the rear of the classroom. So we've got that dual display, as well as our regular classroom accessories like audio enhancement, Epic intercoms, document cameras, Chromebooks, and just making sure that that whole package works well for the teachers and students.
So next, we're rolling out our audio enhancement systems. We're replacing all of the old 10-year obsolete IR systems, the line of sight systems, with our new XD technology. We've had over 7,000 systems installed since FY23, and this is allowing us to get Epic ready, which I'm also going to let Mike talk about.
Sure. So the audio enhancement, a lot of our old IR systems dated back to 2008, 2009. So a lot of these are 10, 15 years old. We can no longer buy parts, so we had to update these systems. And one of the advantages was that these new systems allowed us to be what we're calling Epic ready. So what the Epic intercom is basically we can use our data network, use the audio enhancement system that's in the classrooms, and now we can convert the school's intercom to an IP-based solution using what we already have, as opposed to having to incur the costs of pulling conduit, underground trenching, and whatnot to make intercom repairs for a lot of our older schools. You could be $600,000, $700,000 to replace a traditional intercom. With Epic, we can do it anywhere from about $100 to $200, depending on the size and geography of a school. So far, we've got a 10-year plan to replace all school intercoms. We're currently in year 2 of that. We've replaced 44 intercoms so far. We started with new construction, then we've been retrofitting schools. We've done some of our more complex schools first, so it can only get easier from there. But schools have loved the flexibility of Epic, the fact that they can do custom bell schedules when they do testing. They can do custom bell tones. So it's been a win-win for the schools and their operation.
All right, another one of our projects that our team is supporting is we are now doing conference room updates. Oh, question?
We do have a question on,
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'll
no,
go after
please, I was going to call on you.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you for saving money.
Glad to do it.
You're welcome. One of our newest projects we just started this year is updating the conference rooms in the schools. So this started with ask from our principals. Going into the schools, they didn't have the modern standard technology. And with that, we started talking to the principals and seeing needs in other areas of the school in the conference rooms where parents were coming in to view their plans for Ed Plan and just additional needs. So we are installing between 2 and 5 conference rooms over the next 3 years. We have 28 schools and more going as of right now. So that's going to be an ongoing project for the next 3 years. Additionally, we have been working with construction and PMO, right? Program management, sorry, to update our high school media centers. So that's been an ongoing project for a while now. We have 11 completed, and we have 3 that are starting construction this summer. I'll let Mike speak to that a little bit more, as well as the lessons learned.
Yeah, so we've taken some of our outdated media centers that were built back in the 80s and early 90s that you walk in there, they felt like a dungeon. It was, they were dark, they were dreary, they were designed for when we had more books. Now that we've moved into a multimedia era, we've got students coming in with Chromebooks. We had to tweak how media centers were, so we've gotten together with program management, with construction, with the schools to determine what these needs are. So we've added small group collaboration conference rooms. We've added cafe spaces. We've added updated projection and display systems. We've added digital signage to the media centers. And if you get a chance to see any of these new media centers, it is night and day from what they used to be. Schools are much happier. You see students, collaborating. The furniture's mobile. It's just a much more pleasant experience than working in a dungeon.
And if I could go back to the conference room updates, same slide. Thanks, Chris. So just on the conference room updates, when we were rolling out the smart panels, a lot of principals wanted them for their conference rooms. But when we started talking to them, right, they didn't really need the interactivity of the smart panel. They needed a projection screen to have their leadership meetings, their IEP meetings. So the EdTech team pivoted and went to these flat screen TVs with the PC webcam and wireless keyboard. Actually saves the district a lot of money compared to buying a $5,000 smart panel for that conference room. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Adam. And I know Mike just spoke about digital signage. This is one of the things that we have started doing with new construction, is installing flat screen TVs and digital signage hardware. We started doing that in the media center, and the schools really saw great value in having that digital signage and the high visibility locations on campuses. So all of the new construction has those in their front offices, cafeterias, hallways, outside the gyms. So we are going to begin doing that district-wide over the next 3 years, and approximately 1,500 signage locations. That's going to be our phase 1. Phase 2, we have been asked to also include the cafeteria menu boards. That's a little bit more complex installation, so that's going to be the second rollout. You can see in the picture some of the digital signage that we have at West Boynton. So that's up on the wall, has the Novo, and then the bottom left is an Evo. That's actually a portable digital signage, so the schools can use it all over their campuses wherever they need it for events. So it's pretty awesome. All right, I know artificial intelligence is on the mind of many, and it's also on the mind of the school district of Palm Beach County. We did create a strategic initiative last year, D1C, to address the needs of artificial intelligence here in our district. We have goals to enhance learning, increase efficiency, and inspire innovation for both our students and our staff. Some of the milestones that the work group, and that it's an interdepartmental work group, so we have representatives from teaching and learning, CTE, IT, operations, facilities, so it is a group effort. One of the things that we're working towards is publishing a vision and mission statement. We're also at the very tail end of creating an AI policy. We have a draft. It's in the final stages of stakeholder feedback with our principal group right now. Once that principal group finishes their feedback by Friday, we do hope to have a draft go up to leadership for approval and then on to board. Some of the things that we're doing with our staff is we are providing artificial intelligence training. We have multiple products that have been approved through our TCH process. And so we have, our main one is our Conmigo AI Teaching Assistant and AI Tutor that is available through our trusted partner with Khan Academy. We have provided training for over 5,000 teachers on that AI use this year. We also took AI lesson for our grades 3 through 12 for our students and added that as a mandatory lesson for our TAC program, which is an annual program that we provide to promote digital citizenship and online safety for our students. And the last thing that we're looking for is trying to discover and research some technical solutions, ways that we can use AI for operational efficiency. We've got quite a few examples on the running list going. That was our Q3 milestone, so we're hoping to report out on that at the end of this month. So exciting things happening here in the district with AI. Additionally, just to go a little bit more into the training, like I said, we introduced Conmigo at the beginning of the year. For the month of August, we trained over 4,000 teachers over 39 sessions for the AI integration of teacher tools, which is available to all of our teachers in K-12. Our Conmigo for students is only available for students in middle school and high school. So they are receiving that training through TechSafe. There's also a Conmigo for students course embedded in the program as well. Additionally, we are training teachers during our professional development days as well as after school through our Title IV program for some of those approved applications, so like Google Gemini, Canva, Adobe Firefly, and other tools that have AI embedded in them. That leads me to our Conmigo Ambassador program. So just with the ambassadors, that is very similar to kind of the Trailblazer program that we rolled out when we first introduced Chromebooks district-wide, and we were teaching, we not just the hardware, but we also provided the training. We're doing the same thing with the Conmigo Ambassador program. We're providing the software, but then we are training up to 5 ambassadors on each campus in our secondary schools. So they are able to really be those teacher leaders on the campus and to help lead the integration with Conmigo. And my last slide, just an update on esports. We did host the first South Florida Minecraft Build Challenge this year at Tech did, and that was really awesome. We have a school from each level, elementary, middle, and high, competing this Saturday. They're going down to Fort Lauderdale to compete against Miami-Dade and Broward. So there is going to be a live stream for that. We are hoping to get a lot of participation to watch our kids play and hopefully win that competition. We also have the potential for one of our high school teams to travel out to San Antonio for ISTE this year, so we're really excited about that opportunity. We currently have 64 schools that have a Scholastic Esports facilitator, and we are even, we had started at high school, but we've now trickled down to middle and elementary with the onset and approval of Minecraft in our schools. And last but not least, on February 24th, we hosted our 24th Annual Technology Conference. It was the first conference we'd had in person in 5 years. It was a great day of learning. We had over 70 sessions, 32 district partners, 600 people in attendance. It was hosted for the first time at Dr. Joaquin Garcia High School. It was a great location. It was just a wonderful experience, and we're really looking forward to our 25th anniversary annual tech conference next year. Hope you guys can all come. Thank you. Any questions?
Great update. Did you have, on the Zoom, Google Meet? Yes. Go ahead, Kathy.
Yes, hi, thank you. I was just curious if you had any metrics on the pilot program with Conmigo and if you're seeing performance of the students improve based on that.
Thank you for your question. So we did do a pilot last year. It was a small sample size, so we did see a little increase, but it was too small a sample size, but it looked like it was positive. Rolling it out this year, we're waiting for our end-of-the-year assessment to really truly gauge the growth of our middle and high school students. So we will be reporting out on that once we have that, we take that test in May.
Anything further? Don't see. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you again. So our next meeting date is scheduled for June 11th. So we put that on our future calendar for June. Anything further for this meeting from the TAC or anyone? Any motions to adjourn?
Motion.
Second, Mr. Gary? Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.